No, no, afraid not, my dear.
The 1970s didn't just give us hits, it gave us truth. This was the decade when soul grew deeper, funk got bolder, and R&B albums became full statements, not just singles stitched together. These records weren't background music. They were journals. They were protests. They were love letters, heartbreak confessions, and blueprints for everything that followed. From quiet storm intimacy to street-level funk, from spiritual reflection to raw social commentary. These albums reshaped what black music and popular music could be. These are 15 R&B albums from the 1970s that didn't just top charts, they changed music history. Number 12, Donny Hathaway, by Donny Hathaway.
Everything's alright, yeah.
This album doesn't entertain you, it confesses. Released in 1971, Donny Hathaway is one of the most emotionally honest records of the decade. No polish for radio, no chasing hits. Just a man opening his chest and letting the listener hear everything inside. From the aching stretch of giving up to the fragile beauty of A Song for You, Hathaway sings like someone balancing strength and collapse. In the same breath, his voice trembles, not from weakness, but from truth. What made this album difficult for its time was its intimacy. There's no separation between the artist and the pain. Mental health, exhaustion, love, and doubt all sit in the same room. And you're invited inside. It didn't dominate charts, but it became sacred. Musicians still point to this record as a masterclass in vulnerability. Not just how to sing, but how to feel on wax. Donny Hathaway isn't background music. It's a late-night conversation you never forget. Number 11, All Day Music by War. This album sounded like real life. Released in 1971, All Day Music captured War. At the moment, they became more than just a band. They became a voice for the street. Multicultural, genre blending, and unapologetically grounded, their music reflected everyday joy and everyday tension, living side by side. Songs like Slippin' Into Darkness blended funk, Latin percussion, and blues into something hypnotic and heavy with meaning. Meanwhile, the title track floated with sunshine and ease, masking social awareness beneath its laid-back groove. What set All Day Music apart?
Take me home, yeah.
Was honesty. War didn't dress the message up. They didn't preach. They simply observed and let the rhythm do the talking.
Let's have a big yeah.
At a time when America felt fractured, this album sounded unified without being naive. It played at block parties, in cars, and on radios. While quietly saying something deeper. All Day Music didn't shout its importance, it lived in it. Number 10, Young, Gifted, and Black by Aretha Franklin. By 1972, Aretha Franklin wasn't just singing songs, she was making statements. Young, Gifted, and Black arrived at a moment when Black pride, identity, and self-definition were front and center. Inspired by Nina Simone's anthem, this album became Aretha's crown worn with purpose. Every note carried confidence, grace, and strength. Tracks like Rock Steady brought sharp funk energy, while daydreaming. And A Brand New Me showed her emotional control at its peak. Her voice moved effortlessly between fire and tenderness, never forcing, never holding back. Backed by the Muscle Shoals rhythm section, the album blended Southern grit with polished soul, proving Aretha could dominate any sound without losing herself. This wasn't rebellion for shock value. It was empowerment through excellence. The album earned Grammy recognition and was later preserved in the National Recording Registry, not because it was popular, but because it mattered. Young, Gifted, and Black wasn't just an album. It was identity set to music. Number 9. Backstabbers by the OJs. When Backstabbers dropped in 1972, the OJs stopped being just a vocal group. They became the voice of grown folk truth. Guided by the legendary Gamble and Huff at Philadelphia International Records, this album defined the Philly soul sound. Cinematic strings, deep bass lines, and lyrics that cut close to real life. The title track, Backstabbers, opened like a crime film in slow motion. Betrayal, envy,
What they do is smile in your face.
and smiles that couldn't be trusted. Then came Love Train, flipping the mood entirely. Turning unity and hope into a global anthem that crossed borders and cultures. What made this album special was balance.
What they do is
It danced and warned at the same time. It sounded smooth, but the message stayed sharp.
keep getting all these visits from my friends.
Songs like 992 Arguments and Time to Get Down proved soul music could be elegant and unafraid to tell the truth. Backstabbers didn't just succeed,
Better beware, yeah.
it set the standard. It showed that R&B could groove, preach, and survive the streets all in one breath.
Smiling faces sometimes.
Number 8. Minnie Riperton, Soul That Reached the Sky.
Loving you is more than
By the mid-1970s, Minnie Riperton wasn't just a singer. She was an instrument, known to many for the impossibly tender Lovin' You. Minnie's deeper catalog
we grow old and we will live each day in
revealed something even more powerful. A woman fully in control of her artistry, blending soul, jazz, funk, and spiritual calm
my life so beautiful and every day of
into one unmistakable sound. During this period, Minnie leaned into warmer grooves and more personal themes: love, motherhood,
no one else can make me feel the color
vulnerability, and inner peace. Her voice moved effortlessly from earthy intimacy to whistle-tone heights that felt almost unreal, yet never showy.
la 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 doo 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 doo.
It was emotion first, technique second. What set Minnie apart was restraint. She didn't overpower songs. She floated inside them.
Ooh, I'm more in love with you.
The arrangements breathed. The grooves stayed soft but intentional. Every note felt intentional, like a conversation instead of a performance.
Loving you is easy.
Her influence is everywhere. You hear Minnie in artists like Mariah Carey, Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, and anyone who treats the human voice as something sacred.
Time, 'cause loving you has made
This era of Minnie Riperton wasn't about chart domination. It was about timelessness, music that still feels gentle, honest, and alive decades later. Number 7. Rick James, Funk with No Apologies.
She likes the boys in the band. She says that
By the late 1970s, Rick James wasn't just making music, he was disrupting the room. This was funk with attitude, loud bass lines, sharp guitars, pounding drums, and a swagger that dared you to look away. Rick James blended R&B, rock, and street funk into a sound that felt rebellious, sensual, and completely unfiltered. What made this era controversial wasn't just the music, it was the confidence. Rick didn't smooth the edges, he leaned into them. His lyrics were bold, his delivery theatrical, and his image unapologetic. Some critics called it excessive, fans called it freedom. Underneath the flash, though, was real musicianship, tight arrangements, live band energy, hooks that stuck instantly. This wasn't chaos, it was controlled fire. Rick James changed the direction of funk. She's a very kinky girl, the kind you... by proving it didn't have to be polite. It could be wild, it could be sexy, it could be confrontational, and it could still dominate dance floors. She's a super freak, she's super freaky. His influence runs straight through artists like Prince, Bruno Mars, and modern funk revivalists who understand that groove is about attitude as much as rhythm. With me. Yeah. Rick James didn't ask permission. He kicked the door open, and funk followed him inside. With me. Yeah. Number 6. Marvin Gaye, When Pain Became Art.
Brother, brother, brother.
By the late 1970s, Marvin Gaye had already changed music forever, but nothing prepared listeners for what he did next. This wasn't romance. This wasn't protest. This was confession. After a bitter divorce, Marvin agreed to give the royalties from his next album to his ex-wife. Instead of rushing out a throwaway record, he did the unthinkable. He told the whole truth. Every argument, every regret, every emotional scar.
People, you know, we've got to...
The result was an album that felt uncomfortable, intimate, and brutally honest. Marvin didn't hide behind metaphors. He sang like someone sitting alone at the piano.
With brutality, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me.
Replaying memories he couldn't escape. The grooves were slow, reflective, almost heavy with emotion. When it first dropped, many fans didn't know what to do with it. There were no obvious singles, no radio-friendly hooks. Critics were confused, sales were modest. But time told the real story. Today, this album is recognized as one of the boldest emotional risks ever taken in R&B. It proves soul music could be personal without being pretty, vulnerable without being weak. Marvin Gaye didn't just sing about love here. He showed what happens after love breaks and why honesty can be the deepest groove of all.
There's far too many of you dying.
Number 5. Donald Byrd and the Blackbyrds. Jazz Goes to the Cookout. When Donald Byrd formed the Blackbyrds, nobody expected a revolution. But that's exactly what happened. By the mid-1970s, jazz was fighting to stay relevant with younger audiences. Instead of resisting change, Byrd leaned into it. He brought in students from Howard University, blended disciplined jazz musicianship with street-level funk, and created something warm, accessible, and deeply soulful. The album Caricatures didn't sound academic. It sounded like real life. Smooth bass lines, layered keys, crisp percussion, Music that felt just as right at a block party as it did on headphones late at night. The standout track, Rock Creek Park, became an underground classic. DJs loved it, dancers loved it, and years later, hip-hop producers would dig into it for samples. Turning the record into a crate digger favorite. At the time, some jazz purists looked down on the groove-heavy direction, but history sided with the dancers. Caricatures proved you didn't have to choose between sophistication and soul. You could have both, and make people move while you were at it. Number 4. Gil Scott-Heron and Brian Jackson, Poetry You Could Feel. By the late 1970s, Gil Scott-Heron was already known as the voice of protest, but with longtime collaborator Brian Jackson, he chose a quieter, more intimate path. Instead of shouting truth, this album whispered it. The grooves were warm and restrained, jazz-funk rhythms that moved slowly, giving every word room to breathe. Songs like Angel Dust didn't lecture. They observed. Addiction, exploitation, and social pressure were laid bare without anger. Just weary honesty. That's what made it powerful. Gil's voice sounded tired, reflective, human, like someone who'd seen too much and still cared enough to speak. Brian Jackson's arrangements wrapped those words in soft keys, subtle bass lines, and melodies that lingered long after the needle lifted. At the time, some listeners wanted harder edges and louder statements. This record confused them. But years later, its influence is undeniable. You can hear its DNA in conscious hip-hop, neo-soul, and any artist who believes music can challenge the world without raising its voice. This wasn't protest music for the streets. It was protest music for the soul. Number 3. Millie Jackson, The Truth, Without Filters.
But my love has grown strong.
Long before raw confession became fashionable, Millie Jackson was already saying the quiet parts out loud.
You become a habit to me.
By the late 1970s, Millie had built a reputation for honesty that made radio programmers nervous. And with this album, she didn't soften a single word. This wasn't polite soul. This was lived experience. She blended spoken word monologues with deep funk grooves and aching ballads, flipping between humor, heartbreak, and brutal clarity. Millie sang like someone who'd been hurt, healed herself, and decided never to lie about it again.
Because I've been.
Some critics dismissed her as too explicit, too emotional, too confrontational. But that was the point.
Ooh, I've been loving you.
She was giving voice to feelings women were expected to swallow quietly. Underneath the sass and sharp wit was real vulnerability.
Call the police on me if you want.
Moments where the bravado cracked and the pain showed through. That balance made the album powerful, uncomfortable, and unforgettable. At the time, the industry didn't quite know where to place her. But history caught up. Today, you can trace her influence through generations of artists
I'm not gonna stop now.
who refuse to sugarcoat their stories. Millie Jackson proved that soul music could be fearless, and that honesty could hit harder than any hook. Number 2, Curtis Mayfield, The quiet scream.
Indispensable, just a plain old human being.
By the late 1970s, Curtis Mayfield didn't need to raise his voice to be heard. While many artists were chasing louder grooves and bigger statements, Curtis did the opposite.
Freedom to be. Things are going fast.
He turned inward. He slowed the tempo, and he made one of the most haunting albums of his career. This wasn't the explosive funk of Superfly.
I must behave myself for somebody.
This was restraint. The songs drifted with melancholy, soft strings, muted rhythms, and Curtis's falsetto floating like smoke in a dim room.
Ridiculous, but the strife and the bliss will go right on.
The title track felt like a cry from people pushed to the margins, unseen, unheard, moving through a world that barely noticed them.
My heart upset, so I'll be invisible.
There was anger here, but it was controlled. Pain, but no shouting. Curtis understood that sometimes the quietest voices carry the heaviest truth.
All the things that hurt your soul, no one would.
When the album first dropped, it didn't get the attention it deserved. It lacked radio hits. It didn't chase trends. But time revealed its power.
That way I won't have to feel the pain.
Today, it's recognized as one of Curtis Mayfield's most emotionally mature works, a reminder that soul music doesn't always need to march or dance. Sometimes, it just needs to sit with you.
From the movie Claudine.
Number 1. Marvin Gaye. The album that changed everything. When Marvin Gaye walked into the studio with this album, he wasn't chasing hits. He was asking questions the world didn't want to answer. War, poverty, police brutality, environmental collapse, broken communities. Motown told him this wasn't what soul music was for. Marvin disagreed. Instead of delivering singles, he created a conversation. Every song flowed into the next, stitched together by layered vocals, lush orchestration, and a quiet urgency that felt more like a prayer than a protest. You didn't just hear this album, you entered it. What made it radical wasn't volume. It was vulnerability. Marvin sounded wounded, compassionate, and searching all at once. He sang like someone carrying the weight of a city on his shoulders. Still believing healing was possible. When it finally dropped, it didn't just succeed, it rewrote the rules. Artists were suddenly allowed to be political, personal, and poetic on the same record. Decades later, the questions Marvin asked still echo.
No, baby, say leaving. No.
That's why this isn't just the greatest R&B album of the 1970s. It's one of the most important albums ever made.